In the world of photography, there are two fundamental concepts that can dramatically impact your image's focus and depth of field. Understanding these concepts is like unlocking a secret door to photographic creativity. It allows you to control what parts of your image are sharp and in focus, and which areas fade into a beautiful blur. Focus, put simply, is about making your subject crystal clear. It's about directing the viewer's eye exactly where you want it to go. This is achieved by adjusting your lens to ensure the subject is rendered with sharp details. A well-focused subject pops out of the image, instantly grabbing the viewer's attention. Depth of field, on the other hand, determines how much of your scene, from front to back, appears sharp. A shallow depth of field creates that sought-after blurry background effect, often used in portraits and macro photography. It isolates the subject from the background, making it the star of the show. Deep depth of field, as you might guess, keeps everything in focus, from foreground to background. This is perfect for landscapes, cityscapes, and any scene where you want to emphasize the vastness and detail of the environment. Imagine looking at a photograph of a stunning bird in flight. If the bird is blurry, the image loses its impact, right? That's the power of focus. When you nail the focus on your subject, especially in a busy scene, it immediately draws the viewer's eye. The subject becomes the primary story, even if there are other elements present. Think about a portrait where the person's eyes are tack sharp, but the background gently fades away. This technique instantly creates a sense of intimacy and connection. Focus isn't just about technical accuracy, it's about guiding the viewer's gaze and emphasizing the essence of your story. It's about choosing what deserves the spotlight in your composition. Mastering focus is the first step towards creating images that are not just seen, but truly felt. While modern cameras excel at autofocus, sometimes you need to take the reins yourself. Manual focus gives you ultimate control, especially in tricky situations like low light or when photographing subjects with repetitive patterns. To manually focus your camera, locate the focus ring on your lens. It's usually a ribbed ring that rotates smoothly. Next, switch your lens from autofocus, often marked AF, to manual focus, usually MF. You'll find a switch on the lens itself or within your camera's menu system. Now, look through the viewfinder or at your camera's LCD screen. Slowly rotate the focus ring until your subject sharpens. You'll notice the image changing as you adjust the focus. It takes a bit of practice, but with time, manual focusing will become second nature. Don't worry, smartphone photographers, you can manually focus too. While your phone relies heavily on autofocus, you have the power to override it and choose your focal point with precision. Tap on the screen where you want your camera to focus. You'll see a square or circular icon appear, indicating the selected focus area. Some smartphone camera apps even offer a slider to adjust the degree of blur in the background, giving you even more creative control. Remember, mastering focus on a smartphone is all about being deliberate with your taps. Experiment with different focus points within your scene to see how it impacts the overall feel of your photograph. Shallow depth of field is a photographer's secret weapon for creating dreamy, ethereal images. This technique renders the background and sometimes even the foreground out of focus, while your subject remains sharp. It's like adding a touch of magic to your photos. The key to achieving a shallow depth of field lies in using a wide aperture. Aperture refers to the size of the opening in your lens, controlled by a diaphragm. A wide aperture, represented by a smaller f number like f1.4 or f2.8, allows more light to enter the lens. This increased light intake is what creates that beautiful blur, technically known as bokeh. The shallower your depth of field, the more pronounced the bokeh, separating your subject from the background and drawing the viewer's attention directly to it. Shallow depth of field is a portrait photographer's best friend. It's the secret ingredient that elevates a simple portrait into a captivating work of art. By blurring out distracting backgrounds and foregrounds, you instantly bring all the focus to your subject. Imagine photographing someone against a busy cityscape. By using a wide aperture and creating a shallow depth of field, you can blur the bustling streets and towering buildings into a wash of color. This places all the emphasis on your subject, their expression, and the emotions you want to convey. The next time you're shooting portraits, experiment with different aperture settings. Start with a wide aperture like f2.8 or 4, and notice how the background melts away, leaving your subject as the undeniable focal point. Deep depth of field capturing landscapes in all their glory. While shallow depth of field excels at isolating subjects, deep depth of field is all about showcasing the grandeur of a scene in its entirety. Think sweeping landscapes, detailed cityscapes, or architectural marvels, where you want everything from the foreground to the distant horizon to be tack sharp. To achieve a deep depth of field, you'll need to use a narrow aperture, represented by a larger f number, such as f8, f11, or even higher. This smaller aperture restricts the amount of light entering the lens, requiring longer shutter speeds to properly expose the image. The result is an image where every detail, from the blades of grass at your feet to the snow-capped peaks in the distance, is rendered with crisp clarity. Deep depth of field allows the viewer to explore the entirety of your scene, immersing themselves in its vastness and beauty. Beyond landscapes. When to use deep depth of field. Deep depth of field isn't just for landscapes. It's a valuable tool for any situation where you want to maintain sharpness throughout the scene. For instance, if you're photographing a group of people and want everyone to be in focus, a deep depth of field is essential. Similarly, in street photography, where the context and environment are crucial to the story, a deep depth of field ensures that the details of the surroundings are as sharp as the subjects within them. This technique allows viewers to fully immerse themselves in the scene and appreciate the nuances of the environment. Remember, photography is about making creative choices. While shallow depth of field can create stunning isolation, deep depth of field holds the power to tell a more comprehensive and immersive story. Comparing the extremes, shallow versus deep depth of field. To truly understand the impact of depth of field, it's helpful to see the difference side by side. Imagine two photographs of the same flower. In the first image, taken with a shallow depth of field, the flower's petals are in sharp focus, while the background is a dreamy blur of colors. In the second image, taken with a deep depth of field, the entire flower, as well as the leaves, stem, and surrounding environment, are all in sharp focus. The first image draws you into the delicate beauty of the flower, while the second provides a broader context, showcasing its place within the larger ecosystem. By comparing these two extremes, you can begin to see how depth of field is more than just a technical setting. It's a powerful storytelling tool that allows you to control what you emphasize and how you want your viewers to experience your images. Conclusion. Your journey to mastering focus and depth of field. Mastering focus and depth of field is an ongoing journey of exploration and experimentation. Start by practicing the techniques outlined here, playing with different aperture settings, and observing how they impact your images. Remember, focus is about guiding the viewer's eye, while depth of field dictates how much of your scene is in focus. These two elements work in harmony to shape the viewer's perception and enhance the overall impact of your photographs. As you become more comfortable with these concepts, don't be afraid to break the rules, experiment, and develop your own unique style. The beauty of photography lies in its ability to capture the world through your lens, and with a mastery of focus and depth of field, you'll be well on your way to creating truly captivating images.